January the 4th of 2013. So, when you were born, Neil was 20 years old. Was he married?
Oh, yes.
Okay, and he was living in Wickersham?
I think so.
Yeah. And then Dorothy was 18, as far as I could figure. So, was she married by then, too?
When I was born, no.
Okay.
But, she got married, I think, just before Ethel. And Ethel, I was 2 when Ethel got married.
Okay.
Because I can remember Ethel and Ted telling me about my saggy diapers.
Yeah. And so Ethel would have been about 16 or so when you were born. And then Ray would have been about 13. So do you remember anything about him when you were old enough to remember anything?
Yeah, I remember him getting up in the mornings, going to work with Dad, and he was the only one that could comb Tootsie's hair. She had, Mom always put back and made long curls, and she wouldn't let nobody else touch her hair but Raymond. And when Ray and Liz first got married, oh, she was so jealous, she crawled right in between them. Because, they lived with us for a while before they moved up into the little pink house. And then, I don't know just how many, they must have lived there for a couple of years, because I can remember going up there, and they had those big trees, right by the bank. And Liz was only 15, of course, when Raymond got married, so she was just a kid like us, and we'd get on those big limbs, and we'd swing out and go over the road and come back onto the bank, which was in their yard. And we used to do that all the time. Well, one day the limb broke, and Edna was on it, and she landed on a car going by down on the road. And of course he slammed on his brakes. Well, we were running here, I and Les. So he took Edna home, and we got in trouble over that. But I must have been, I don't know, 7 or 8 years old, somewhere in there.
So was the pink house kind of up on a bank above the road, or right?
Yeah, if you wanted to walk from the road up, you had to go up the bank. They had steps in it to where you could walk up it, because that's where the mailbox usually was. But they also had a driveway that comes straight off of the road, and you could go up this way into it. I suppose that's all grown up now, and I would never even recognize the place.
Yeah. I know, I tried to take Ernie Hatter out and look around, and I couldn't figure out. They knew the pink house was just down the road from where, Grandma Babcock lived in the big house there.
And we lived between her house and the little pink house.
Okay. So, were you down closer to the road, or was it a little farther east of there where you lived?
No, we were close to the road. We had our front yard and everything. We had our garden spot and everything was out in the back. And then, of course, we had the pasture across the road. His dad always had his horses, and he usually had a milk cow. Mother didn't milk him.
Okay. So was there a creek kind of between the two houses, or?
Yeah, there used to be a creek that ran between our house and Grandma. And Dad built a chute of boards so that the water would come up and go down, where we could just stick our bucket under there, and we wouldn't have to dip out of the creek. That way we got good, clean water.
Yeah.
And we had to carry all of our drinking water and stuff. And of course we did for washing clothes too, other than Mom had out rain barrels to catch rainwater as much as we could for washing clothes.
Of course, you didn't have any electricity or anything.
Oh no, there was no, just lamps and lines. Yeah, we didn't have any electricity until the first time we moved into Moynihan. That was the first time I had bought bread. I was 11 years old before I knew what tasted bought bread. Mother always did all the food. I thought bought bread was neat.
Yeah. So, was Ina a widow at that time?
Oh yes, I never knew my grandpa.
Okay. Yeah, and I had heard that one of the Babcock boys built a garage kind of over the creek or something, so he could drain his oil down into the creek.
Yeah, well, Grandma said they had a creek that run right in the back of her house.
That was a different creek.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. And then Jack, he was about 11. Was he still living at home?
Oh, yeah, Jack lived at home till, I don't know, he must have been pretty close to 14. Because they had no schools around here. He had to go to Vancouver.
Yeah. And I heard your mom really didn't want him to go. And
no, because he was just, still a baby to her.
Uh-huh.
And we had to take him and go to the depot here in town, put him on the train. And then he never only got to come home on, like, Easter, Christmas, and like that.
So that was the deaf school down in Vancouver.
Mm-hmm. And then when the war started, World War II, he came home. He thought, everything was going to get blown up, and he wasn't going to be down there in that big city. He was coming home. And he stayed between Ethel's and Dorothy's. He stayed back and forth.
Oh, okay.
So that way he was in town here where he could go to work and have friends that were deaf like he was. That's how he got acquainted with that Ernie. I can't remember his last name, but they were real close buddies until Jack went to Seattle.
And Dorothy was living down there in Pacific Street at that time?
She was living right where she lived when she passed away.
Yeah.
They had
Okay.
just a little tiny house over there. I think there was only, I can't remember, I think there was only 2 rooms in it when they first moved there. I can remember their little dog, Tiny, sleeping under the cook stove.
Yeah, and I remember they had pet squirrels and stuff there, and one of them got loose and got up on the stove, I think, one time Dorothy was telling me about.
Yeah, they got in the matches once and got rid of them with Connie's, her granddaughter. Of course, Juanita had a pet squirrel too that almost burnt the house down. That's when it got in the matchbox. And it lit the matches. They happened to wake up, in time to see that matchbox flame up. And
Wow.
yeah, George had brought it home in his lunchbox from work when they were falling timber and found that little squirrel. Yeah, she made it quite a pet out of that. And then I think it was Dorothy that stepped on it one morning when she was fixing breakfast. Getting up early to get George off to work. It's still dark, and she didn't see it running around. And it killed it. Yeah, Juanita had lots of pets growing up. That's why I think Connie, her oldest daughter Connie, was great for pets.
Okay, back to your house out there. A lot of the people, I guess, lived in old shacks that had been loggers and stuff, lived in and moved into it. Was your house one of those, or was it something that they had built?
Oh, it was a house. There was only 2 bedrooms and the kitchen and the front room, of course, when I first could remember it. And then Mom and Dad had a storeroom built on the back and a porch, built-in back porch. So then later they made that into a bedroom, because that's where Raymond's room was after he got up over there. All the boys had the bedroom, and I and Edna had the Mom called a day bed. It folded up into the wall, and then when you got ready to go to bed, you pulled it down from the wall, and I and Edna and Bill and Carol slept in that. and Bill at one end and I and Carol at the other. We were the youngest, but we got stuck together.
Yeah, I remember little Jimmy Dickinson had made a song. He said, sleeping at the foot of the bed with the old cold toenail scratching your back and the headboard rubbing your feet or whatever. So in the end, that's the way you did it. Okay, and the Babcock house, I guess, Basinski built that. I didn't know if you knew that, but yeah, I've got the history of that house. Okay, and then...
but I do remember Mom telling about the Basinskis lived her next door neighbor. And see, that was before my time too.
Yeah.
Because I can remember Mom telling them one time about Mrs. Basinski coming down to the house and accusing one of the kids of stealing because she found a quarter in the sandbox.
I guess she was quite a
Oh,
crabby
she was quite a
lady.
woman, yeah. And you know, it's funny because when I was little, she was always real nice to me. I can remember when I got my, we'd been out to Sandwich Island clam digging. I must have been between 7 and 8. And we stopped at her house to give her some clams. And when I got out, when the kids shut the car door and caught my finger in it. And I can remember her giving me a big peach. And she sent a little blanket home with me. And I always got along real good with her, but everybody else, she argued and fussed with. But when she was living with me and June, you know, on Xenia Street, I'd go over there and we'd visit. And she was always nice and polite to me, so I never had no trouble with her, but everybody else did. And I can remember poor Helen, she just gave her an awful time when she moved in with her and Frank down there on Iowa Street.
Oh, she moved in there before she moved with June, or
No, after.
after?
She caused so much trouble with June and Neil that they finally couldn't stand it any longer, so she went and stayed with Helen.
So Helen Swank was June's sister,
Yes.
and she was crippled. I
Yes, she was pushed into the fireplace when she was in a baby in a buggy. I don't remember now if it was June that was pushing the buggy back and forth. And it went into the fireplace anyway, and it burned real bad. And that crippled that leg and her arm. Yeah, she couldn't use the one arm to button buttons or anything like that.
Yeah, I remember that.
And she walked on her tippy toes. Well, she didn't have no toes actually on that foot. But she walked on her foot because the cords here in the back of her leg were too short. Couldn't get her heel on the back. Yeah, one time she went upstairs and hollered out the window and said that Helen was trying to kill her and everything, you know. And they finally had to put her in a home. Because they couldn't handle her, you know. I mean, she wouldn't listen to nobody. And, you know, she lived by herself for a lot of years. But I think that her mind just went. I think she had Alzheimer's and they just didn't know nothing about it, back then.
Sure.